You may not know this, but this week is actually, it is officially Bribe Your Child Week.
Yeah, an overwhelming majority of moms and dads admit that they do it. But is it the best way for parents to get their kids to do what they need them to? Joining us now with some tips is Alise McGregor, coming in to join us from owner of Little Newtons. Good morning, Alise.
Good morning.
I guess we should first and foremost define the bribe, because we're not talking about an allowance for doing things like in general.
Right.
There is you're thinking of something in specific here. What are we thinking of now when we're talking about a bribe?
It's a very fine line, and the best way to look at it is when you bribe a child, you're trying to stop an unwanted behavior. You're doing it in the heat of the moment, or you're out of frustration, whereas a positive reward or an allowance or something like that is preemptive. So you figure out what you're going to reward your child. They're going to do their chores 5 days a week, etc. And that's set in stone. Whereas a bribe, the child's melting down, you're thinking of what can I do to make them stop doing this behavior. And so it teaches them that if I continue to melt down, or the next time I do, it's going to
I
up
get
the
candy
ante.
or whatever.
And so they're not really learning how to control themselves and to respect their parents.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about some alternatives. I think you've set up at this point what the difference between bribing and rewarding for good behavior. But what are some alternatives for maybe kids who are acting out at that moment?
It depends on the age group, and with the youngest kids, for example, age 1 to 2, they don't understand rewards or bribes anyways.
It's hard to get them motivated to work toward a goal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what I like to think of with that age group is distraction and, singing silly songs, clapping, doing silly things, or a child is really behaving well and constantly reinforcing that behavior rather than going on the reverse where they're melting down and you're trying to stop it.
Yeah, it's all about taking them out of the moment.
Yep.
When it comes to that. It's a lot like having a pet, isn't it? Little kids and infants and babies are a lot like having a puppy.
You have to constantly reinforce that good behavior.
Can you get a clicker? Should I have done that? Should I have had a clicker training with my kiddos? All right, let's say we've moved on from the young toddlers with that art of distraction. Moving on now to preschool age kids.
So this age group, they're starting to figure out that if I do X, I get this. And so
they're getting crafty.
Well, tantrums are less likely with that age group because they're starting to understand themselves. It's more important to set expectations ahead of time. For example, if you're going to the grocery store, you let them know, I need this behavior, this is what we're going to do. If you don't do this, afterwards we'll go to the park, or, we'll go out for ice cream or something. So you're still rewarding them, but it's setting it up with your expectations to preempt that meltdown at the store where you would pick something to.
Okay, and what about school-age children? Once kids are in school, there are different, ideas as far as rewarding for good behavior.
This is a great age to sit down with them and let them know what your expectations are and ask them, what do you think works for you? And it really needs to be clear and concise. So you're not saying, I want you to get better grades this year. It's better to say, I want you to improve in math. And the way we're going to improve in math is you're going to study an extra hour a week on that subject. And at the end of the week, this is your reward.
And it's good too, because G&J are 8 and 10. And we can go to Target and they know the behaviors that are expected out of them. We go grocery shopping. All is right and good. And we'll go 7 or 8 times. And all of a sudden that 9th time, the world falls apart. And it's like, who are you people? What has gone on here? But so it's good to not get complacent in the, oh, we've moved on past this. But you never do.
No. And I'm sure it'll happen at 13, 14.
Well, what would you say? So you're in a Target, or some store, and the kids have a meltdown. Do you have a suggestion for parents and how to kind of, is it distraction?
Would you remind them back to what you have said? Good just to remind them, hey, remember our plan?
Yep, and it is also really important to stay calm because I think when kids are melting down, you're embarrassed maybe that they're melting down and you're acting really quickly. And to just stay calm, remind them, be very concrete and consistent with them. I think that's what kids really need, is the constant reminders and not have empty threats.
I have a bell and I just ring it behind them and I yell, shame. Ding, 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 shame. I don't do that.
Alise McGregor, thanks so much for coming on and talking about, some things we need to think about as far as rewarding kids for good behavior.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Alise McGregor, owner of the Little Newtons.